In a quiet, cramped courtroom, a woman stood alone at the defendant's table. Her hands trembled slightly as she clutched a stack of papers. The judge, an older man with sharp eyes, raised a single eyebrow and let out a slow, knowing smirk. He wasn't used to seeing someone without a lawyer, especially a woman who looked so unsure of herself. The people in the gallery whispered softly but mostly watched in silence. Everyone wondered if she was out of her depth. Then, with a calm but steady voice, she spoke, representing herself. The judge's smirk deepened, almost like a challenge. No one expected what came next. The courtroom gasped. This wasn't just a case, it was a story about courage, justice, and one woman's fight against the odds. Sarah was a single mother who worked 2 jobs just to keep a roof over her and her son's head. Every morning before the sun rose, she packed lunches and got her little boy ready for school. She loved him more than anything in the world, but life hadn't been kind lately. Her ex-husband, Mark, was a wealthy businessman with money, power, and a fancy lawyer. After their divorce, Mark fought for full custody of their son. He said Sarah was unstable, that she couldn't provide a safe home. Sarah knew the truth. She worked hard, stayed clean, and loved her son fiercely. But in court, money and lawyers made the difference. The judge ruled in Mark's favor. Sarah felt crushed. Her world was falling apart. She had lost her son to a man she barely recognized. The thought of not seeing him every day was unbearable. Friends told her she should just give up, that fighting would only hurt her more, but Sarah couldn't let go. Not yet. She promised herself she would find a way to bring her son home. After losing the appeal and watching her savings disappear, Sarah faced a harsh truth. She couldn't afford a lawyer anymore. The courtroom doors seemed to close in on her, but giving up was not an option. The thought of representing herself felt terrifying. She had never done anything like this before. Her friends warned her. "You'll embarrass yourself," they said. "Judges don't take people like you seriously." But Sarah's heart was stronger than their doubts. Late at night she sat in the local library, poring over law books and court cases. She watched videos online about courtroom rules and how to speak clearly in front of a judge. She printed every document she could find and practiced her arguments in front of the mirror. It was exhausting, and sometimes she wanted to cry, but she kept going. For her son, she would become her own lawyer. She would fight with every bit of strength she had, even if the whole system seemed against her. The day of the hearing arrived. Sarah walked into the courtroom, her heart pounding so loudly she thought the judge might hear it. She carried her papers tightly, feeling the weight of every eye on her. The judge looked up from his bench, and the smirk returned to his face when he saw she was alone. No lawyer by her side. Her ex-husband's lawyer glanced at her with a sneer, clearly amused. "You don't have a chance," he whispered loudly enough for others to hear. Sarah took a deep breath, trying to steady her voice. At first, she stumbled over her words. She mixed up legal terms and fumbled with her papers. The judge raised his eyebrows, almost as if he was waiting for her to fail. The opposing lawyer objected sharply, and the judge easily sided with him. The courtroom felt cold and unfriendly. Whispers floated from the gallery. Some people shook their heads, thinking Sarah was wasting her time. The odds were stacked against her. But Sarah didn't back down. With every passing minute she forced herself to focus harder, listen closely, and speak clearly. Slowly Sarah began to find her footing. She showed the court documents she had carefully collected, papers proving her ex-husband had hidden money and neglected their son. The lawyer's confident sneer started to fade. She spoke with a quiet strength that surprised everyone. The judge, who had been smirking before, now leaned forward, listening carefully. Sarah pointed out small details that even the opposing lawyer missed, like unpaid bills and missed school meetings. The courtroom whispered in surprise. People started to pay attention. Sarah was no longer just the nervous woman standing alone, she was someone fighting back. Then she dropped a bigger surprise. She revealed evidence of messages from her ex where he ignored their son's needs and showed no interest in being a good father. The judge's smirk disappeared completely. For the first time the power in the room shifted. Sarah's confidence grew, but she stayed calm and respectful. She knew this was only the beginning of her fight. The courtroom was watching, waiting to see if she could keep going. Just when it seemed the courtroom might slip back into doubt, Sarah called a surprise witness, her son's teacher. The woman stepped forward and spoke softly but clearly. She told the court about times she saw the boy upset after visits with his father. She described one day when the boy arrived at school scared and quiet, saying his father had yelled at him. The opposing lawyer looked shocked. The judge's eyes narrowed. Then Sarah pulled out something even more powerful, a phone with secret recordings she had made. In the messages, her ex-husband's voice was cold and angry, admitting he wanted full custody not for the boy's sake, but to avoid paying child support. The courtroom grew silent. The judge paused, staring at the recordings. The evidence was real and difficult to ignore. Sarah's heart pounded, but she kept her voice steady as she explained why she had recorded the messages, because she feared for her son's safety. The judge finally spoke. This court did not expect such evidence. This changes things. The tension in the room was thick. Sarah could hardly believe how far she had come from that nervous woman at the start. The courtroom was silent as the judge reviewed the evidence one last time. Sarah stood tall, holding her breath, her hands trembling slightly. The opposing lawyer avoided her gaze, his confidence gone. The judge looked directly at Sarah. "Miss Miller," he said slowly, "this court underestimated you. You have presented evidence that demands serious consideration." Everyone waited, hearts pounding. "After careful review, I am awarding full custody of the child to Miss Miller," the judge declared. The courtroom gasped, some people whispered in shock, others looked relieved. Sarah felt tears sting her eyes. She had done it, against every doubt, every sneer, every challenge she had won. Her ex-husband's lawyer sat back, speechless and defeated. The judge nodded once, signaling the end of the case. For Sarah, this was more than a legal victory. It was a moment of justice, hope, and a chance to rebuild her life with her son. Outside the courthouse, sunlight warmed Sarah's face as she held her son's small hand. The tension that had filled her chest began to ease, replaced by a quiet joy she hadn't felt in a long time. Reporters surrounded them, cameras flashing and questions flying, but Sarah shook her head gently. "I just did what any mother would do," she said softly, looking down at her son's smiling face. As they walked away from the courthouse together, the world seemed a little brighter. The fight wasn't over, there would still be challenges ahead, but for now, Sarah had won the chance to be with her son again. Her courage had broken through the doubts, the smirks and the cold courtroom walls. And in that moment, she knew one thing for certain: love, determination and truth could change everything.